I can sum up my feelings about the Nissan Rogue pretty easily. It is a car that I wouldn't have recommended to my worst enemy, and God forbid if a rental car counter offered me one, I would ask them what other vehicles they have, because I just never want to drive one of those. But Nissan is on a comeback tour. If we've learned anything from the new Sentra and the new Altima, it is that Nissan can take a vehicle that I didn't like very much and completely redesign it. So this is the new 2021 Nissan Rogue. We've got the fully loaded Platinum trim. Let's see if Nissan can turn this model's fortunes around with this all-new generation. So let's start with an exterior walk around of the Rogue, because it is all new for 2021. We've got this very new front fascia that's very different than the outgoing Rogue. I see a little bit of juke, very mature juke, albeit, because we do have this split headlight design where we have the tail, the turn signals here, and we have the main headlight down here. Of course, we have Nissan's V-Motion grille that's available on all of their models. I really like the blue that they've sent me on this tester. You'll see when we come around the side that it is two-tone on the Platinum. You get a black roof with this as well. We've got these larger wheels on the Platinum trim. You know, there's smaller wheels available elsewhere on the lineup. We do have plastic body cladding here, not too much plastic, which I think is nice. We have this sort of floating roof line here. Nissan does this on a lot of their vehicles. I really like the interesting C-pillar design here. And when we come around back, we do have a much sharper design that's more in line with what Nissan's doing right now. Pretty cool looking taillights that look pretty similar to the smaller kicks. Nissan loves doing these big names across the back now, Rogue. I do think that is a nice touch as well. And you do have a little badge letting you know that you have a Platinum fully loaded trim, and we do have all-wheel drive on this Rogue as well. All right, so now that we've checked out the exterior, let's go ahead and hop inside the 2021 Nissan Rogue, where, again, hugely updated here on the interior. Nothing like the outgoing Rogue. We've got all of the latest and greatest Nissan technology here, and because we have the fully loaded Platinum trim, we have all of the bells and whistles available on this car. So we've got these beautiful diamond quilted leather seats. They're Nissan's zero gravity seats, so again, these are so comfortable. I've said this before about Nissan seats. Nissan knows how to do some of the best seats. We've got this newly designed steering wheel that is much nicer to fall into hand than their last generation of steering wheels. We have this blue button here that I will talk about a little bit later on the road. The one thing I'll say, and I noticed this on the outside, we've got the old Nissan emblem here on the steering wheel. I'm really looking forward to seeing Nissan's new logo appearing everywhere, because it is really nice. So let's talk about the infotainment and the technology and everything like that, because since we have the Platinum, we have this large 12.3-inch digital dashboard. You don't get any gauges. The lower trims all have regular gauges, but we've got this screen here, so you can configure this in a bunch of different ways. You can have it showing your trip information, song information, tire pressures, things like that, and it's very nicely laid out. You've got your tachometer and your speedometer, but if you don't need those to be as prominent, which you really don't in a vehicle like this, you just push this little button on the steering wheel and click change meter view. It does this very cool animation, and now the tach and speedo are going to be much smaller. Your information is going to be much larger and clearer. Very useful. I found this feature very helpful as well. And we also have a very large 12.3-inch head-up display as well on this Platinum trim. Then we have our 9-inch infotainment system here. This is very similar to what you'll get on a Rogue or an Altima. No problems here. I really do like this as well. We also have CarPlay, and it is wireless CarPlay here on this vehicle. Android Auto is available as well, but it is not wireless like CarPlay is on this application. In terms of climate, we've got dual zone climate control, heated seats, no ventilated seats. I found that to be a missing option here. Not every vehicle in this segment has it. RAV4 has it, Mazda CX-5 has it, but Honda CR-V doesn't, and this doesn't either. And I think when you consider the price point of this vehicle, it doesn't go quite as high as RAV4. So I do understand that there is a reason for that, that it doesn't go quite as high here here. Now we do have a heated steering wheel, which is quite nice as well, and we have a ton of other nice things as well. We have our wireless charger nicely placed right here so that it doesn't take away from your cup holder space, so you can wirelessly charge. You have a USB-C and a USB outlet right here, although to be honest, I didn't use either of them because the wireless charger is right there, and I have wireless CarPlay, of course. We've got tons of storage underneath the console, which is great. So in terms of storage, the Rogue is fantastic, and then additional with your center armrest storage, you have plenty of space. You have this little rotating knob here. You can switch your drive modes here. You have auto, eco, snow, off-road, and a sport mode. I'll talk a little bit more about those when we get it out, but I am very impressed with the materials in here. I love the panoramic roof. It is a really large, nice piece of glass. And the other really nice thing that we have here is a 360-degree camera. So you'll see we have this really square shifter. It's all electronic, not connected to any linkages or anything like that. I never knew I needed a square shifter in my life, but it falls really nicely into hand. When I put it into reverse, you're going to see we have this really cool 360-degree camera with moving trajectory lines. And the thing that I'll say about this is, look, there's no stitching on the images. Sometimes on the cheaper cars like this, you can see lines, clear lines here from the 4 different camera views. Not so on the Nissan Rogue. And I just drove the Infiniti QX50, which is much more expensive than this, and that did have cutout lines on the different quadrants. So very impressed that the Nissan Rogue manages to stitch it better than the Infiniti version. Bravo Nissan on this interior and the technology. And before we check out the rear seats, which is what we normally do right now, I want to talk about this other feature that I didn't even know about that Nissan offers in a lot of their vehicles, including this 2021 Rogue. It's called Nissan Concierge, and I don't know of any services like this except for maybe Rolls-Royce Whisper, so really interesting comparison there. So basically you hit this little button right here on your navigation system. It's on navigation and telematics equipped models, and Nissan's going to give you a 6-month subscription for this for free when you buy your car, and then it's $8 a month afterwards, which I think is actually a really good value, because what it does is it gives you your own personal assistant. You can call this person 24/7. It's not always the same person, but I've called a couple of times and I've gotten the same person several times, and this person can do anything for you as long as it's legal. And yes, Nissan does stipulate that. I wonder what people were ordering that was illegal on it, but I've used it a bunch of times. So I was out shopping and I didn't really know the restaurants around me. I called them, they looked up the best sushi place near me. They called, placed an order, they ordered it right from the navigation system, sent me a receipt via text message on my phone. I went and picked it up. It was delicious sushi. I didn't have to exchange money or anything. It was ready right when I got there, and they can plug navigation prompts into your GPS. So if you're looking for a fun thing to do with your family in a new city, they can look stuff up for you on the fly while you're driving, and they can send it right to your nav system. It's a really interesting service. I've never seen anything quite like it, and I think for 6 months free and for $8 a month, I kind of think it's an amazing value. Now let's finally check out the back seats of the Rogue. Since we have the Platinum trim, we have a lot of features back here. We've got the sunshades. That's really nice for your kids to protect them from the sun. Of course, we still have the zero gravity seats back here, so these are super comfortable compared to a lot of other vehicles in this segment, although the seats don't recline. That's not a feature you'll find in a lot of compact vehicles like this. We do have 38.5 inches of legroom, which is really nice back here. Very low center tunnel as well, so sitting in the middle seat is not super uncomfortable, although, you know, shoulder width, it is a little, you know, tight back here. And we do have some really nice features for this being a mainstream vehicle. We do have air vents back here. We have heated seats on the fully loaded Platinum trim. And I also have my own temperature controls, a USB and a USB-C outlet to charge our devices. So a really nice place to spend time back here in the Rogue. Now let's move on to storage space, where since we have the Rogue Platinum, we have a kick-operated sensor. You can also just push the button as well. We've got really nice storage space here, a little over 31 cubic feet of it here, and you can actually get a little bit more with this system called divide and hide. So we've got these floor things here. You can lower these, and as you can see now, we have a little bit more space. I can lower this one here as well, and that's going to take us from 31 to a little over 36 cubic feet of space. Now let's say you have something smaller trailer that you don't want to roll around back here, you can take this one and you can actually place this vertically standing in its up position here. So I really like this feature. So if you have something small, bags here, whatever, you don't want them to roll around, I really enjoy that feature here. And you can fold down the seats obviously as well. Now you can do that from the second row. There's little latches there, or Nissan has conveniently put latches here in the trunk as well. Now that's going to open us up to a little over 64 cubic feet of space. So the Rogue in general is a little bit bigger than a RAV4, not quite as large and as spacious as the Honda CR-V, but in terms of spaciousness for the compact segment, it does very well. All right, so let's get the 2021 Rogue out on the road and see how it drives. Now, this is a huge thing. We've already checked out that the Rogue is super improved on the exterior and the interior and all of that jazz, but one of the areas where Nissan really needed to make big improvements on this model was in the driving dynamics. And compact crossover drivers in this segment are not overly concerned with sportiness and driving dynamics and suspension and all that jazz. They just want it to be comfortable and compliant. And the last generation Rogue was all of those things, but it was a snooze fest. Super boring to drive, nothing to noteworthy to speak of, but I'm happy to report that this new 2021 model is a massive improvement. Nissan has taken all of the lessons that they've learned in building the Altima and the Sentra, and they've offered them here. So let's start with the engine. There's only one option available. It's a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine, nothing super special there. It's the same one you get in the Altima. Produces 181 horsepower and the same amount of torque. Those are increases of 11 horsepower and 6 pound-feet of torque compared to the outgoing generation Rogue. Now you can have front-wheel drive, but we have optional all-wheel drive on this model here, and power goes out through a continuously variable transmission, a CVT, and I'm sure there's going to be some groans from people who would prefer Nissan offer a conventional automatic transmission. Now Nissan has been getting better with their CVTs as of late. They feel more like automatic transmissions, and they're definitely less drony than they used to be, but I will note that this is definitely not the best modern application that I've experienced recently. I'm going to show you now. We're going to slow down a little bit. Let's accelerate here and listen. As you saw there, it kind of executes a shift. It does pretend to shift at certain points, but you could hear there it really groaned, and it definitely doesn't sound very good. With only 181 horsepower on tap, this is not a speedy vehicle. If you're driving it normally and reasonably, like most people in this vehicle will do, I think it's an adequate amount of power, but this is definitely not quick. It's 0 to 60 in about 8.1 seconds, so adequate, but not super impressive. Now you have some drive modes here that you can play around with. You have your auto mode, snow mode, off-road mode. I haven't really played around with those much. You have an eco mode, and then you do have a sport mode as well that tightens up the steering and the throttle, and it's going to tune that CVT to make it a little bit more anxious to give you power. Let's experience that now. I actually don't love driving this vehicle in sport mode all that much because it keeps the revs a little bit too high and anxious for my liking, but I will say that the Rogue teaches you the difference between what is a fast car and what is a responsive car, because this is not fast, but I will note that when you are in traffic and you're driving at a reasonable speed and you need a quick burst of acceleration, this car does give it to you in a hurry. The CVT changes ratios very quickly, so I do like that. So let's talk about the fuel economy of this engine. The best you're going to do is 26 in the city, 33 in the highway, and 29 combined with all-wheel drive. You're going to do better with front-wheel drive. You're going to get 27 in the city, 35 on the highway, and 30 combined. And interesting to note, if you have the Platinum trim like we have, you lose 1 in each category on the MPGs, whether you have front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. I'm assuming that's just because this model is heavier, has bigger wheels, etc., etc. So just something to note if you're going to be getting the fully decked out Platinum trim like we have. And in terms of the drive dynamics, the steering is actually great. It does feel a lot like the Sentra, which I reviewed late last year. Loved how the Sentra drove. There's plenty of body roll in this car. It's, you know, it's a compact crossover. This is not a sporty application vehicle at all, but we do have a multi-link rear suspension back there, which is very high tech for a vehicle like this. Gives it a very compliant ride. It rides really well over bumps. I will say it's a little bit louder than some competitors on the highway, The Honda CR-V is definitely quieter, but I think this is about on par with a Toyota RAV4, and I think this drives as well or better than a RAV4. And I think equally important to how a vehicle like this drives is the safety tech, because that's the thing that a lot of consumers care about when they buy a vehicle like this. And the Rogue is fantastic when it comes to all of that stuff. It's got Safety Shield 360 as standard. That gets you automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection, blind spot warning, rear cross traffic alert, lane departure warning, high beam assist, and rear automatic braking as standard. And you can get some other stuff like blind spot intervention, traffic sign recognition, and adaptive cruise control and rear door alert optional on these higher trim levels. And the thing that this vehicle has on this little blue button on the steering wheel is the Pro Pilot Assist with NaviLink. This is Nissan's flagship technology. Just hit the blue button and that's going to trigger it, and then you just have to hit set. And now I have my adaptive cruise control handling my speed, and I have the steering handling my steering as well. It does not full self-driving. This is not a Tesla, this is not Cadillac Super Cruise, but for a mainstream vehicle, this is one of the most impressive systems that I have ever experienced. It does nudge you in the right direction. You can kind of hover over the steering wheel and feel it do the steering for you. For a mainstream system, I'm hugely impressed with this. I think that this is actually better than when I tried this system out in the Infiniti QX50. So just another reason why I think this Rogue is actually better value than the Infiniti version of the same vehicle. So if you are looking for a crossover with a ton of safety tech, the Nissan Rogue should be high on your options list. So that was the 2021 Nissan Rogue. Pricing starts at just under $26,000 for front-wheel drive, $1,400 on any of the trim levels adds all-wheel drive. Now, if you want the Platinum all-wheel drive trim, like I've just shown you, it's almost $37,000, $36,800, give or take. And we have a couple of other like weird options on this one, like ground effects and interior ambient lighting. I wouldn't get any of them, to be honest. Just keep it at $36,800, because the price of this tester is almost $40,000, and I think with all those unnecessary options cut out, I wouldn't spend any on those. So the Nissan Rogue 2021, I'm very happy with what they've done on this new model. I think it looks better on the outside. I think it's much improved on the inside. It is finally a car that I would consider in the highly competitive compact space. And I think when you consider the incentives on these and the pricing, I think the Rogue is finally a great option to consider, and it's one of the best in the segment. We really hope you've liked this review of the 2021 Nissan Rogue. For more videos like it, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe and hit the notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. We also have content everywhere else: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, you name it. So be sure to check us out there. I'll see you next time.